so there's been some floating of this idea, and Democrats have tried this. It's failed on the Hill. Pay TSA, strip out everything else, worry about them later. But then that begs the question, Secret Service, I mean, asking them to take a bullet for protectees, not get paychecks and show up for work, FEMA and others. Why decide only some federal workers are going to get paid?
Well, that's not what we've done, Shannon. We've now proposed 10 times to not just fund TSA, and we could do it again today. The Senate's coming in at 1 o'clock to vote. We could vote today to open TSA and make sure all those people get paid. We've also said the same with respect to FEMA and the Coast Guard. What we've said with respect to ICE is because we've all witnessed a lawless ICE operation, including the killings of 2 American citizens, that they need to be reined in. But there's no reason Republicans should be holding FEMA and TSA and the Coast Guard hostage as we try to reform ICE.
Okay, so that package would mean who's not getting paid?
That would essentially mean that ICE and CFPB are not being paid through this bill. But as you well know, Republicans, through their so-called big, beautiful bill, they provided ICE and CFPB with lots of money, which is why Donald Trump can say he'll send ICE to, why not just pay TSA, get them back on the job? That's what we're saying. ICE folks are being paid every day. They've got boatloads of money. What they're asking for is another $10 billion. And we're saying, no, you don't get another $10 billion on top of your $70 billion until you rein in ICE.
Last week, I was watching Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland Man fame on the Fox Sunday show with Shannon Bream. Van Hollen admitted ICE and CBP have already been funded for $75 billion through 2029. He tried to mix Bream's head up with his word salad talk, and Bream wasn't buying it. Eventually, Van Hollen claimed the real reason the Democrats won't fund DHS was because Republicans wanted another $10 billion for ICE. Well, this past Sunday, ABC This Week host Jonathan Karl picked up right where Bream left off. Take a look.
And I'm joined now by Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat of Maryland. Thank you for being here, Senator.
Good to be with you.
So, I mean, what's the bottom line here? I mean, you guys are on recess for 2 weeks. Homeland Security is not funded. Where's this going?
So the bottom line, as you just discussed with Steve Scalise, is that you had a bipartisan bill, Republicans and Democrats, pass the Senate that would immediately fully fund TSA and, by the way, FEMA and the Coast Guard. President Trump has said he has the emergency authority to spend money for TSA. And the question I have is, why didn't he use that 45 days ago? And is he going to now use it?
So when the Senate passed that bill, and there was that brief moment that looked like, dawn had broken, you put out a statement saying that Republicans had, quote, finally relented. What did Democrats get out of this? Even if that passed, what did you get out of this? This DHS shutdown's going on for well over a month. What have you gotten for it?
Well, the issue here, John, is we let people know, number one, that we want to fully fund TSA. We could get rid of these lines at the airports immediately. But we also made clear that we're going to demand reforms of a lawless ICE operation. After all, DSH agents killed 2 American citizens in Minneapolis.
Now, in that last clip, Karl pointed out that the Senate is on a 2-week vacation in the midst of the partial DHS shutdown. Also, Van Hollen recognized that President Trump has released cash to pay TSA from an emergency slush fund and wants to know why it took him 45 days to do it. Karl asked Van Hollen, what did the Democrats get out of doing this? And all Van Hollen could offer up was something to the effect of, well, at least the people know that the Democrats are fighting for ICE reforms, which is a mind-numbingly stupid way to think, because ICE is not part of the equation. Now watch as Van Hollen doubles down on his lie about the $10 billion. Take a look.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what's confusing here is you have fought and blocked the funding for the Department of Homeland Security because you object, as you just outlined, to what ICE has been doing, and you wanted to force changes. And yet, the only thing that has been assured throughout all of this is that ICE already has the money. Because as you said, $75 billion passed in the budget bill last year. So you're holding up the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security because you object to ICE and you want changes to ICE. But through it all, ICE continues to have the money it needs.
John, we're not holding up all of the money for all the Department of Homeland Security. That's just a false statement. We have said repeatedly, repeatedly, we should fund TSA, we should fund FEMA, we should fund the Coast Guard. We are not prepared to give ICE another $10 billion on top of the monies they already have and are using in many of these lawless operations. We're not going to give them another $10 billion unless they make fundamental reforms,
that $10 billion,
holding
you're
people
holding up
accountable
everything
for
else
the killing of American citizens.
And fighting over that additional $10 billion, you are holding up the rest of Department of Homeland Security.
We're not holding it up.
I mean, you're saying...
No, John, we're not holding it up. We have now voted 10 times.
Right, but you're holding up unless it doesn't include money for ICE. That's just a fact.
Unless it doesn't include money for ICE, a very reformed ICE. That's right.
Which already has the money.
Why not fund TSA now? That's what we've said. I mean, that's what the House blocked.
That's
Let's be really clear.
Very good question, and you heard me.
Yeah, but I mean that is the question.
But let me ask you: the White House did agree to some reforms as you were negotiating all of this. You had a letter that was given to the GOP negotiators from the White House saying they would agree to increasing body cam footage, to retaining that body cam footage, sharing it with Congress, to limit immigration enforcement at sensitive locations like schools and hospitals. It agreed to require officers to clearly display their identification and verbalize their affiliation. Now, that's all gone. I mean, that was something that, what's happened to that? I mean, that was at least something you were getting.
Yeah, look,
but it's gone.
At the end of the day, John, they were not willing to make meaningful reforms, in my view.
Both Shannon Bream and Jonathan Call pointed out that Van Hollen's explanation for why the Democrats weren't funding DHS wasn't making any sense. All he could say was, we need ICE reforms. And until they get them, they're not going to give another $10 billion for ICE. He also mentioned the Republicans should pay DHS, which makes no sense, because the Democrats are the ones holding everything up. I think he was trying to say the Republicans should take some of the $75 billion ICE got from the big beautiful bill and give it to DHS to help fund TSA. Because ultimately, really what they want to do is defund and abolish ICE. Let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. But let me...
What's incredible, though, is that they refused to allow that independent, credible investigation. That's what's amazing. I'm not going to give them another $10 billion when you've got 2 American citizens killed by these agents, and they're calling them domestic terrorists, and to this day refusing to apologize to the families.
And they already have $75 billion in the pipeline. So let me...
So the question then is, why are they so determined to shut down TSA when, in fact, you're right? I mean, ICE does have money right now. We just don't want to give them any more.
So the president said he's ordered DHS to pay the ICE officers, even though money hasn't been appropriated here. First of all, is he able to do that, and for how long? I mean, do you have a sense of the legality of that?
I don't completely, but they do have, as we've been discussing,
They do have
like
a pot of money.
billions of dollars
Yes.
that Republicans provided them in what they called the big beautiful bill, where they gave billionaires these huge tax breaks, cut Medicaid, but they managed to fund ICE. And so if the president does have that authority, what's he waiting for?
Here's the truth of what really happened. The Democrats thought the Republicans would cave to their demands on ICE if they held the D.H.S. hostage. Once they realized travel was being affected, they still didn't care. They weren't expecting for the president to send ICE agents into airports to assist. They also weren't expecting for the president to tap into the emergency slush fund and start paying the Democrats' victims, and to start making things more palatable at the airports like they are now. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please watch our last video where we remember slain Chicago college student Sheridan Gordon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.